Hello and welcome to the video presentation of our soil science project titled Effects of Cultural Management Practices and Zeolite on the Efficiency of Fertilizers for the Growth of Grape genus Vitis crop in greenhouse and open field conditions. The grapevine is a climbing crop which originated from Europe, but over the years, research has been carried out to develop varieties that can adapt to the humid tropic. The grapevine requires a minimum of 900 millimeters of rainfall per year, and also the grapevine is able to tolerate alkaline and acidic soils, but soils which have pH values ranging between 8.5 and 8 are ideal for the cultivation of the grapevine. Also, temperatures ranging between 15 and 40 degrees Celsius are good for the cultivation of the grapevine. In order to carry out this project, we set up some objectives. We had our general objective, which was to evaluate the effect of cultural management practices and zeolite on the efficiency of fertilizers for the growth of grapes in greenhouse and open field conditions. Our specific objectives were to measure the effectiveness of cultural management practices on the growth of grapes, and also to analyze and compare the effect of the treatment used to determine the growth of grapes in two types of soils, which are vertosol and inceptisol. The cultural management practices we carried out were weed control. We did this in order to reduce the competition between the weeds and the crops. This is to reduce competition for nutrients, space, and water. Also, we carried out a light pruning. We did a light pruning because normally pruning for the grapevines are usually done in their dormant season. That is when they are not bringing forth fruits. But during this time of our project, the grapevines were actually bringing forth fruits. So we did a light pruning to reduce excess growth of the grapevines and also to allow for the penetration of sunlight for the proper development of the fruits. Usually, a method known as four-arm knifing method is used for the pruning of grapes. This involves the training of grapevines along two horizontal wires. And as the grapevine grows, all shoots that do not grow along these wires are cut off. This allows for the production of quality fruits. During this project, we didn't have an excessive pest attack, but during the last week, in the open plots, we had an attack of ants. Also, we had the incidence of powdery mildew, and we controlled this by carrying out pruning, that is, cutting off the branches and leaves that were affected by powdery mildew. For our second objective, which was to analyze and compare the effects of treatment used to determine the growth rate of grapes in two types of soil, vertosol and inceptisol, we had two treatments. The first treatment was 25% of zeolite plus 75% of fertilizer, and the second treatment was 100% of fertilizer, and we had a control on which we did not apply anything, and this treatment was done on two plots in the greenhouse which has the vertosol, and also same was repeated in the open fields which has inceptisol.
So, in order to obtain results for the first objective, which was to measure the effectiveness of cultural management practices on the growth rate of grapes, we randomly picked one leaf in each plant in each plot and monitored the growth in length and width of the leaf for 1 month. We then did a statistic analysis of the results. So in this graph, we can see the growth in length of the leaves in the greenhouse, where we had 3 plots. So in the plot that had fertilizer and zeolite, and that which had 100% fertilizer, we can see that there was no statistic difference in the growth in length of the leaves. However, the two plots show a statistic difference when compared with the control. So, and the same analysis was done for the growth in width of the leaves in the greenhouse. And the results show that there was no statistic difference in all the treatments. That is compared with the control. They all show no statistic difference. So the same statistic analysis was carried out on the growth in length of the leaves in the open field. And from the analysis, we can see that the plot that had fertilizer and the plot that had fertilizer and zeolite show no statistic difference. And both plots show no statistic difference when compared to the control. The statistic analysis was also carried out on the growth in width of the leaves in the open field. And from the analysis, we can also note that there was no statistic difference between the plot that had 100% fertilizer and the plot that had fertilizer and zeolite when compared between the two and when the two are compared to the control. So moving on to the last objective, which was to analyze the effect of zeolite, we carried out two soil analyses. The first one was before we applied the treatments, and the second one was after we applied the treatments. In the table, we can see the results of the soil analysis. So when you look at vertosol in the greenhouse, before we applied any treatments, we can see that the soil there was a deficiency of most of the nutrients in the soil. However, after we applied the treatments, for example, if we take phosphorus, after we applied fertilizer and zeolite, there was an increase in phosphorus content by 130. And then when we applied only fertilizer in the same vertosol, there was an increase by 139 in the phosphorus content. And the same trend can be seen in the inceptisol that was in the open field.
So we would like to recommend that if future groups are to continue with this project, they should do so during the dormant season of the grapevines. That is when the grapevines are not bringing forth fruits, in order to carry out a deep pruning of the grapevines to help with the production of quality fruits and also to regulate the growth of the grapevines. Thank you.